14 days, that is all I ask of you. Not a year, not a lifetime. 14 days of strict obedience, and you will not recognize the man in the mirror. You have tried transformation the dramatic way. Grand resolutions, loud declarations, overnight reinventions, and each time the flame burned bright, then quietly faded, not because you lack potential, but because you lacked concentrated repetition. This is not dramatic, it is disciplined. For the next 14 days, you will do 3 things so simple you may be tempted to dismiss them. Do not. Their simplicity is their power. First, write one clear statement of what you intend to become, not what you wish, not what you hope, what you intend. Keep it short. Read it aloud, morning and night, with feeling. Second, give one extra measure of service each day, beyond what you are paid for, beyond what is expected. No announcement, no applause, just action. Third, refuse one weakness daily, one complaint unspoken, one distraction denied, one excuse crushed before it leaves your lips. You think change requires complexity. It requires consistency. 14 days of hearing your own voice command your future. 14 days of proving to yourself that you can go the extra mile. 14 days of self-control in moments where you once surrendered. And something begins to shift. Your posture changes. Your speech sharpens. Your mind grows alert. The subconscious, fed daily with definiteness, begins to search for opportunities that match your declared aim. You will not see fireworks. You will see alignment. But let me warn you, on day 4, you will feel ordinary. On day 7, doubt will whisper, "This is too simple." On day 10, fatigue will suggest postponement. That is the test. Most men fail not because the plan is difficult, but because it is unimpressive. They crave dramatic effort. They overlook disciplined repetition. They want immediate proof. They abandon before identity has time to form. If you complete 14 days without negotiation, you will taste something rare. Self-respect earned through obedience. And self-respect is the soil from which wealth, influence, and peace grow. Imagine yourself 2 weeks from now, speaking with certainty, moving with intention, no longer restarting every Monday, no longer apologizing for delay, just steady, controlled progress. Ignore this, and the next 14 days will pass as the last 14 did. Scattered, reactive, half-lived. But follow it, and you will discover a dangerous truth. A man does not become powerful through intensity alone. He becomes powerful through repetition, guided by a definite aim. 14 days, 3 commands, no negotiation. The question is not whether it will work. The question is, will you obey it long enough to watch who you become? Section 1. The law of concentrated repetition. Why 14 days can alter identity. 14 days appear insignificant to the casual mind. 2 weeks pass easily in distraction. Yet the same 14 days, governed by deliberate repetition, can alter a man's inner structure more surely than 14 months of scattered effort. The difference lies not in duration but in concentration. Most men attempt change through intensity rather than repetition. They begin loudly. They declare boldly. They exhaust themselves in enthusiasm. And when enthusiasm fades, they interpret its absence as failure. In truth, they mistook flame for foundation. Foundation is built through repeated obedience. The mind does not transform because of one grand declaration. It transforms because of continued instruction. Repetition is instruction. Instruction shapes belief. Belief governs conduct. Conduct repeated forms identity. Identity determines destiny. If you understand this sequence, you will see why 14 days lived without negotiation can interrupt years of drift. The subconscious mind does not respond to occasional command. It responds to consistent suggestion. When you speak the same definite statement each morning and each night, you engrave direction into deeper soil. The engraving may not be visible at once, but it accumulates. A man who repeats weakness daily becomes weak without noticing the change. A man who repeats strength daily becomes strong without spectacle. Repetition is not glamorous. It is quiet. It is unimpressive. It does not produce applause, yet it is the hidden architect of character. Abraham Lincoln did not awaken one morning possessed of unshakable resolve. His strength formed through repeated reflection upon purpose, repeated confrontation with opposition, repeated return to conviction. His firmness was not sudden, it was layered. Henry Ford did not master machinery through one stroke of insight. He returned daily to the same mechanical question until understanding deepened. Mastery came through familiarity born of repetition. Thomas Edison did not stumble upon success in a single experiment. He repeated effort until experiment ceased feeling like strain and became habit. Habit created inevitability. The crowd praises inspiration. The disciplined understand repetition. 14 days of obedience to 3 simple commands will begin forming a new internal rhythm. Rhythm is stronger than enthusiasm. Enthusiasm rises and falls. Rhythm persists. The man who rises at the same hour for 14 consecutive days and speaks his intention aloud begins hearing authority in his own voice. That authority grows faintly at first. By the 4th day, he notices steadiness. By the 7th, he feels alignment. By the 14th, he senses control. Control over oneself is the first wealth. Most men lose 10 years not through catastrophe, but through restarting. Each Monday brings renewed promise. Each month brings abandoned resolution. They remain in perpetual beginning. 14 days completed without interruption break this pattern. The subconscious mind begins trusting command only after proof of consistency. When it observes that you obey your own words repeatedly, it responds with cooperation. Cooperation from within multiplies power. You may dismiss 14 days as insufficient to alter identity. Yet consider how easily 14 days of indulgence alter mood, posture, and confidence. Repetition of weakness produces swift decline. Repetition of strength produces swift rise. The mind does not measure time in years, it measures consistency. 3 consecutive days of discipline begin shaping expectation. 7 days begin shaping belief. 14 days begin shaping identity. Identity is not a discovery, it is installation. Each morning you speak your intention, you install direction. Each evening you repeat it, You reinforce that installation. The first 72 hours will feel ordinary. The mind will not resist strongly because it expects relapse. It is accustomed to abandoned effort. Around the fourth day, subtle resistance may appear. A whisper may suggest postponement. That whisper is the old identity protecting itself. Ignore it. By the seventh day, boredom may attempt persuasion. This is too simple, it will say. Simplicity is its power. Complexity entertains. Simplicity transforms. The man who persists past boredom begins experiencing internal quiet. Doubt lessens. Speech becomes firmer. Speech influences posture. Posture influences confidence. Confidence influences action. This chain begins in repetition. If you complete 14 days of unbroken obedience, you will notice something rare. You will believe your own word. Self-belief does not arise from applause. It arises from evidence. Evidence accumulates through repetition. The world does not immediately reward discipline. It observes. Yet you will feel reward internally before the world responds. Self-respect emerges. Self-respect changes how you enter a room. It changes how you answer questions. It changes how you view difficulty. Men who lack self-respect seek validation constantly. Men who possess it act without waiting for permission. 14 days is long enough to taste self-respect. The transformation will not be dramatic. There will be no spectacle. You will notice alignment. Your thoughts will wander less. Your decisions will hesitate less. You will begin anticipating obedience rather than negotiating with weakness. This anticipation is powerful. It replaces dread with readiness. Many men require years of hardship to learn obedience. You may learn it in 14 days if repetition is absolute. Absolute obedience to simple command reveals a startling truth. You were never weak. You were inconsistent. Inconsistency dissolves through repetition. Consistency builds power quietly. You may fear that 14 days are insufficient to produce lasting change. Understand this: 14 days are not the end. They are interruption. They break momentum of weakness and install momentum of strength. Momentum once formed is easier to continue than to restart. This is why short cycles of strict discipline can save 10 years of drift. They interrupt patterns early. A man who proves to himself that he can command 14 days can command 14 months. Command begins small. If you doubt the power of repetition, examine any skill you possess. It was not born through one effort. It was built through repetition until movement became natural. Identity operates the same way. Say these words quietly each morning during these 14 days. I repeat strength until it becomes my nature. My obedience shapes my character. I trust repetition more than enthusiasm. You may feel little change on day 2. Continue. You may feel doubt on day 5. Continue. You may feel fatigue on day 9. Continue. Completion is the prize. When the 14th day arrives and you realize you did not miss a single command, something permanent will settle within you. You will understand that transformation does not require drama. It requires repetition guided by definite aim. And once you grasp this, you will never again wait for inspiration to change. You will repeat yourself into power. The next portion will examine the first of the three commands in detail, the written declaration that awakens direction and reshapes decision immediately. For repetition without direction builds strength, but repetition with direction builds destiny. Section 2, the first command, the written intention, and the awakening of direction. The first command of these 14 days appears modest. It asks only that you write one clear statement of what you intend to become and read it aloud morning and night. Yet this single act, repeated faithfully, rearranges the structure of a man's thinking more swiftly than years of wandering ambition. Most men drift not because they lack ability, but because they lack direction. They wake without decree and retire without decision. Their days are governed by circumstance rather than command. When such a man attempts progress, he moves in circles. Vagueness is the true poverty. A written intention expressed in plain language eliminates vagueness. It forces the mind to choose. Choice awakens energy. Energy follows direction. If I were guiding a man at the beginning of these 14 days, I would insist that his statement be brief, specific, and final. Not a paragraph of hopes, but a single decree. For example, I will become a man of disciplined action, earning a definite income through service that exceeds expectation. The power lies not in length, but in definiteness. When spoken aloud each morning, this declaration begins shaping expectation. Expectation alters perception. The mind begins noticing opportunities aligned with the declared aim. This change is subtle at first. On the second or third day, you may feel little. Yet by the fifth, you will notice that decisions are measured against your statement. A man without a written aim asks, "What do I feel like doing?" A man with a written aim asks, "Does this advance my decree?" That single difference saves years. Andrew Carnegie did not rise through scattered intention. He fixed his ambition early and organized his conduct around it. Though he began as a poor immigrant, his direction was definite. Others saw a laborer. He saw a future command. Definiteness alters posture before it alters circumstance. When you read your intention aloud, you are not merely speaking words. You are issuing instruction to the deeper mind. The subconscious responds to repetition with obedience. It does not argue. It does not evaluate. It accepts. This is why emotion must accompany the reading. Words spoken without feeling lack force. Words spoken with conviction penetrate. The first 3 mornings may feel mechanical. Continue. By the 4th morning, your tone will strengthen. By the 7th, you will feel authority in your own voice. Authority begins within. Many men lose 20 years pursuing opportunity without clarity. They chase income, position, or approval without knowing precisely what they intend to become. They react rather than direct. 14 days of definite declaration interrupts this pattern. Clarity sharpens action immediately. When your aim is known, distractions become obvious. You will find yourself refusing activities that do not align. This refusal feels new. It is the birth of discipline. On the evening of the 5th day, as you repeat your statement, you may notice resistance. Doubt may whisper, "You are not yet that man." That whisper is old identity defending itself. Continue speaking. Identity does not precede declaration, it follows repetition. The mind must hear the same instruction repeatedly before it reshapes belief. One reading does little. 14 consecutive readings begin engraving certainty. Henry Ford repeated his mechanical vision long before proof appeared. Others dismissed it as impractical. He did not abandon repetition because others doubted. His repeated certainty shaped action until the world adjusted. Likewise, when you declare daily who you intend to become, you are shaping action in advance of proof. The effect is cumulative. By the 10th day, your decisions will carry more weight. You will hesitate less because you have measured yourself against a higher standard daily. Men who lack a written decree drift into indecision. Indecision erodes confidence. Confidence eroded becomes fear. The written statement prevents this erosion. It becomes a compass. You may notice your speech changing. Where once you said, I might, you now say, I will. Language adjusts as belief strengthens. Belief governs posture. Posture influences how others respond to you. Within 14 days, others may remark subtly upon your steadiness. They will not know the cause. They will sense alignment. Alignment commands respect. Many have asked why some men seem certain without visible advantage. The answer is internal decree repeated until doubt weakens. A salesman once doubled his results within months after writing a specific income intention and reading it daily. His methods did not change dramatically. His decisiveness did. A clerk once advanced rapidly after declaring advancement inevitable and aligning his conduct with that belief. His superiors sensed readiness before he requested promotion. This is not mysticism, it is law. Clarity organizes effort. Organized effort produces result. If you complete these 14 days without missing a single reading, you will experience something uncommon. You will trust your word. Self-trust alters conduct more profoundly than praise. A man who trusts himself no longer negotiates constantly. He acts in alignment with declared intention. This is how 14 days save 10 years. 10 years of vague effort can be replaced by 14 days of precise repetition that installs direction permanently. Each morning when you rise, read your statement before engaging the world. Let your first voice be command, not complaint. Each night before rest, read it again. Let your final thought be direction, not drift. Sleep will carry that direction deeper. Do not revise the statement mid-cycle. The temptation to improve it is often disguised for doubt. Complete 14 days unchanged. Completion builds power. Say these words quietly before each reading. My intention governs my conduct. My conduct shapes my destiny. I repeat until certainty replaces doubt. By the end of these 14 days, your aim will feel less like aspiration and more like identity. And once identity shifts, the remaining two commands become natural rather than forced. We now turn to the second command, the daily extra measure of service that transforms direction into visible power. For clarity without usefulness builds confidence. Clarity combined with usefulness builds advancement. Section 3, the second command, the extra measure of service, and the birth of power. The second command of these 14 days demands no public display, no announcement, and no applause. It requires only this: that each day you render one extra measure of service beyond what is required, beyond what is paid for, beyond what is expected. It is simple, it is quiet, it is powerful beyond appearance. Most men give precisely what they are asked to give and no more. They measure effort against wage. They calculate exertion according to recognition. In doing so, they chain their advancement to the lowest standard permitted. The extra measure of service breaks this chain. When a man goes beyond expectation without immediate reward, he alters his own internal standard. He ceases to think as an employee and begins to think as an owner of his own capacity. Ownership of capacity produces power. The first day of extra effort may feel insignificant. You may complete a task more thoroughly than usual. You may assist someone without being prompted. You may refine a detail others overlook. It will seem small and continue. On the third day, you will notice that giving more requires less strain than you imagined. The mind resists excess effort only before it is attempted. Once begun, it feels natural. By the fifth day, you will begin sensing pride. Not pride rooted in comparison, but pride rooted in integrity. Integrity strengthens posture. Posture influences opportunity. Henry Ford did not confine his effort to what was required. He examined his machinery repeatedly after hours, refining details unnoticed by others. His extra mile was mechanical, quiet, unseen, yet it built mastery. A clerk who once felt invisible in his position began staying beyond required time, organizing records more efficiently than demanded. Within months, his reliability became indispensable. Promotion followed naturally. Opportunity observes before it rewards. The crowd seeks immediate compensation. The disciplined seek accumulated advantage. Each extra measure of service deposits invisible capital. That capital does not vanish. It gathers in reputation, in skill, in self-confidence. After 7 days of exceeding expectation, you will notice that others respond differently. A superior may consult you more readily. A colleague may depend upon you instinctively. Dependability is rare. Rare qualities command reward. The principle at work here is not charity, it is leverage. When you offer more value than expected, you position yourself above average without announcement. Average effort produces average result. Extra effort produces distinction. Distinction attracts advancement. The man who gives beyond requirement no longer feels bound by wages alone. He begins seeing himself as asset rather than laborer. This shift in self-perception is crucial. Perception governs behavior. When you perceive yourself as indispensable, you act accordingly. Many complain that opportunity bypasses them, yet they have never given the world a reason to notice. Notice follows usefulness. Within 14 days of deliberate over-delivery, you will feel increased energy rather than depletion. Energy grows when effort aligns with intention. When your daily service aligns with your written decree, coherence forms. Coherence builds confidence. Confidence invites responsibility. Responsibility leads to increase. A merchant once decided to greet each customer personally and assist beyond transaction. His trade expanded steadily. Others wondered at his success. They did not see the extra courtesy repeated daily. The extra mile is often invisible to the crowd, but visible to the few who matter. Those few influence outcome. You must resist the temptation to seek praise for your additional effort. Praise weakens purity of motive. Motive must remain disciplined, not theatrical. Silent superiority strengthens character. On the 10th day, fatigue may whisper that the extra measure is unnecessary. You have done enough, it may say. That whisper is the voice of mediocrity. Ignore it. The purpose of these 14 days is not to impress others, but to prove to yourself that you can exceed your former standard. Each time you go beyond requirement, you reinforce identity. Identity reinforced through action becomes permanent. By the 12th day, you will notice that exceeding expectation no longer feels like extra effort. It feels normal. Normal has shifted. This shift is transformation. Men who consistently exceed expectation rarely remain unnoticed. Advancement may not arrive within 14 days, but inevitability has been set in motion. The mind now expects more from itself. Expectation raised alters conduct everywhere. You may find yourself refining speech, posture, even thought, because your internal standard has elevated. This is the hidden gift of extra service. It disciplines the giver. Income follows value. Value increases through initiative. Initiative emerges through habit of extra effort. 14 days of this habit interrupt years of minimal compliance. Compliance maintains position. Initiative advances it. Say these words quietly each morning before work. I exceed expectation without complaint. My value increases daily. I become indispensable through deliberate excellence. By the end of these 14 days, you will no longer see yourself as average. You will have evidence of discipline in motion. And with direction already installed through the first command and usefulness now reinforced through the second, the final command will seal the transformation. For clarity and service build advancement. But self-governance builds permanence. We now turn to the third command, the daily refusal of weakness, where character is forged and self-respect becomes unshakable. Part 4, the third command, refusing weakness and forging self-respect. The third command of these 14 days appears smallest in effort and greatest in consequence. It requires only that you refuse one weakness daily, one complaint withheld, one distraction denied, one excuse silenced before it leaves your lips. So simple it invites dismissal, so powerful it forges sovereignty. Most men do not lose years through catastrophe. They lose them through small indulgences repeated without awareness, a complaint spoken casually, a task postponed slightly, a discipline avoided once. These minor concessions gather into character. Character is shaped not by dramatic events, but by repeated allowance or refusal. To refuse one weakness daily is to interrupt the erosion. The first day you withhold a complaint, you may feel irritation. The tongue has grown accustomed to expression without restraint. Silence will feel unnatural. Continue. The second day, when you deny distraction, you will notice resistance. The mind seeks comfort through diversion. Denial strengthens will. Will grows through exercise, not intention. By the fourth day, you will begin noticing your own speech before it escapes. Awareness sharpens. Words slow. Slowed speech builds control. Control builds authority. Authority begins inward. Many men attempt leadership outwardly while remaining governed inwardly by impulse. Such leadership collapses under pressure. Self-governance precedes command of others. Refusing one weakness daily trains self-governance swiftly. Consider how easily years are lost to minor indulgence. 10 minutes of delay repeated daily becomes weeks. Weeks become months. Months become years. 14 days of refusing even one weakness interrupts this pattern. On the seventh day, you may feel ordinary again. The exercise may appear trivial. This is the moment many would relax. Relaxation invites relapse. Persist. On the ninth or 10th day, a deeper test may appear, a stronger temptation, a sharper irritation. The old identity seeks restoration. Refuse it. The refusal builds self-respect instantly. Self-respect does not come from applause. It comes from obedience to one's own higher instruction. A merchant once decided he would never speak ill of circumstance again. For 2 weeks, he withheld complaint. By the end of that period, his speech had altered permanently. Customers sensed composure. Trade improved. His character, not his inventory, changed first. A craftsman who refused procrastination for 14 days discovered that beginning tasks promptly reduced anxiety entirely. His skill increased because hesitation vanished. Small refusal produces large consequence. When you deny distraction, you strengthen focus. When you silence excuse, you strengthen discipline. When you restrain complaint, you strengthen character. Character strengthens reputation. Reputation strengthens influence. Influence strengthens opportunity. This chain begins with one refused weakness. By the 12th day, you will feel solidity within, a quiet firmness. The mind no longer negotiates constantly. It obeys instruction. This obedience is power. Most men believe power is intensity. It is not. It is control. Control over speech, control over impulse, control over delay. Within 14 days, you will see yourself differently, not dramatically, subtly. You will stand straighter because you know you have obeyed your own command. Others may notice that you speak with fewer unnecessary words. You may appear calmer. You may seem less reactive. They will not know that this composure was built through daily refusal of weakness. Self-governance radiates outward. Many chase wealth without mastering speech. They seek influence without conquering distraction. They demand advancement while indulging complaint. Such ambition collapses. 14 days of refusal interrupts these hidden sabotages. The discipline does not end at day 14, but the proof of capability appears. You will realize that weakness was never stronger than you. It was merely unchallenged. Unchallenged habit feels permanent. Challenged habit dissolves. Say these words quietly when temptation arises. I govern my speech and conduct. Weakness does not command me. I obey my higher intention. With direction installed, service elevated, and weakness refused, identity shifts. The man who completes 14 days without missing a single command will not feel extraordinary. He will feel aligned. Alignment is more powerful than excitement. Excitement fades. Alignment endures. And here is the dangerous truth you will discover. If 14 days can change you this much, what could 90 do? What could 1 year do? What could a lifetime of repetition guided by definite aim accomplish? Most men require 10 years to learn what 14 days of disciplined obedience can reveal. That transformation is not dramatic. It is deliberate. The next 14 days will pass regardless of your choice. If lived casually, they will resemble the last 14. If lived under command, they will alter the next 10 years. The question was never whether this would work. The question was whether you would obey long enough to watch who you become. 14 days, 3 commands, no negotiation, and a man begins to see himself clearly for the first time.